Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Wednesday, the 13th day of April, the 12th day of Nisan. We told you a long time ago, it was one of our first halachas of the Pesach season, and that is that you have to make certain to give ma'os chitin. That's money to help the poor people be able to afford their matzah and things of the sort, because Pesach shopping is so expensive. If you have a lot of money, it's very, very important that you share what you have with those who are needy and make sure, just like you could have your very expensive matzos and your Pesach foods, so too the needy can be supplied by you, so you have to give ma'os chitin. But today's question is this. There's an obligation to give a tenth of your money to Maaser. You tithe your money and you make certain to give 1/10 of it to the poor. So you could probably see the question coming. If I have, let's say, $5,000 allocated to Maaser Ksafim, money that I have to give away to the needy, can I take my ma'os chitin from the $5,000 that I'm giving anyway to the needs of Maaser Ksafim? Is basically tithing your money to give to the needy. So why don't I sort of kill two birds with one stone and take my Maaser and take my ma'os chitin out of my Maaser Ksafim amount, and that way everything's good. I don't have to give more than 5,000 of my Maaser Ksafim, of my tithing money. I'll just take from that 5,000 and give it to the poor people for ma'os chitin. Well, at first blush, it seems like that's not really a good thing to do. I'll tell you why. Because the Gemara, especially in the Yerushalmi, talks about how this was a kind of obligation. The ma'os chitin was an obligation taxed upon all Jewish people in the community, and they set it as a set amount. And they said everybody in the community has to give $100 or whatever their amount was to ma'os chitin. So that's an obligation, and Maaser Ksafim, giving 1/10 of your income, is an obligation. So to fulfill one obligation with another obligation is kind of like, sort of, you could call it like double dipping, like accomplishing two things as one. And if they're two separate obligations, they both have to be fulfilled. You have to give your 5,000 of tithe, of 1/5 of your income, but you also have to give something else called ma'os chitin. And generally, we don't allow ourselves to fulfill one obligation with another. Classic example of this would be that it is written in halacha that you don't use your Maaser Ksafim, your tithing of your $5,000, you don't use that for your matanos lavyonim, for the gifts to the poor on Purim. That's known. So one obligation can't fulfill another. So at this first blush, it would seem that it's not a good idea to use your 5,000 of your tithing money to pay off your ma'os chitin. However, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach seems to be saying in some of his writings that it's not so for ma'os chitin. Because yes, long ago, when communities established it, it was a set levy on every person in the community that they have to give ma'os chitin. We don't really have set levies set aside by our communities that say everybody in this community must give X to this minimum and must give Y to this as a minimum and must give Z to that as a minimum. We don't really have that anymore, and it's all very voluntary. Of course, we want to give and we should give ma'os chitin, but it's not levied, it's not taxed, it's not an obligation. And therefore, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach seems to say that since it's not an obligation, it's all voluntary, so you could take it out of your tithing money. So what should you do? You want to look into this, talk to your rabbi about it. I've given you some of the basics on it, and now with your rabbi together, you can make a very educated decision as to how you will proceed. Hope I didn't make that complicated for you. Thanks for logging on, and log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.